Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SempreMilan podcast. I'm your host, Ollie Fisher, joined once again by Anthony Torgrud.
I called it. I said we'd win. We won.
You did.
We
I think I
are the
predicted a loss.
champions.
Probably. Yeah. It was the right prediction, but I knew what I was getting myself into. Yeah. It worked.
Yeah, we haven't got smiles on the faces, boys. First bit of silverware in the bag. It only took Conceicao 180 minutes. Yeah, in a while. Do you know, I was thinking just before we hit record, this is only the third trophy that we've been able to talk about since we started doing this podcast in like over 8 years. We got the Supercoppa the last time.
Was that was before we started the podcast?
2016-17 season.
No one said we're not depressed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fairly sure we did talk about the first Super Cup, but if we didn't, then it just adds to the stat. It's 2 trophies in over 8 years.
No, that was with Donnarumma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that one.
Yeah, that's true, because we were doing this before Donnarumma. Yeah, wow.
God. And then, obviously, Scudetto 2022, had a couple of finals and whatnot, but here we are. This is probably the best of the lot in terms of the game itself that led to the trophy, and of course, we're going to dive into it. We're recording it the morning/afternoon after the game that took place. But before we dive into this week's episode, I want to say thank you, as always, to our Substack founding members. And I'm going to go in reverse order because we've got a couple of new ones. Medi K, Ken, Roberto Racinos, Marco Valea, Tarek, JT Physio, Mike Schulz, Heavenly 13, Derek Favretto, Merlin Finker, Nasser Carlo Fassi, Rajat Ral Escobar, Luke Villano, Mats, MJ, Kemin, Joey Gawler, Moritz Pullman, Tito Mack, and Des Windsor McGlynn. Don't worry, AJ. Didn't forget MJ. Could be your brother, really. AJ.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how it works, but yeah, for sure.
Close enough, right?
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for all of the support that you're showing us over on the Substack. It continues to grow from strength to strength. We hope that you're enjoying the content that we're putting out on there, including things such as the most recent pub chat that Lorenzo and Stefano sat down to record after a very heated quiz, I might add, that caused a fair bit of divide among the SempreMilan ranks.
Yeah, was the pub chat about the quiz, I wonder?
No, I wish it was. They managed to patch up the wounds that they inflicted on each other.
Pub brawl was about the quiz.
They actually debated whether Pulisic is Milan's current MVP. And I think the performance last night puts the two contenders against each other. So go and listen to what they thought about that. That was recorded prior to the game against Inter, so a bit of context on that. The bonus pod that me and you did, AJ, on Friday. Oh, and Maddie was involved. My bad. I remember because you brought that tactical analysis that was top notch. So yeah, I don't know how I forgot that. But we did a deep dive on Sergio Conceicao, and that was before the Juve game. So we managed to get that out just in time for the masterclass we were about to see. Isaac's most recent bonus article, I would absolutely recommend reading this. He always does a good job on these longer read things. Called it the Big Four Mid-Season Review of Milan's Directors. He goes into Ferlani, Scaroni, Moncada, Ibrahimovic, basically where they're at to this point, how they stand in the eyes of the fans, the things they've said that are important throughout the season, and obviously with Moncada on an expiring contract, for example, Scaroni now doing 3 different jobs. There's some blunt and honest words in there from Mr. Moller, so go check that out. All right, let's do this. I wasn't part of the last podcast, the 342.5, because I was unable to record, but you boys held down the fort and spoke about the win over Juve, so don't need to go into that. But one thing I will say is that coming into this game, I thought if we played like we did in that Juventus game, we would not stand a chance in this game, because we faced an Inter team that had won 5 games on a spin without conceding. Watched them in the other semi-final against Atalanta. And don't get me wrong, they had the periods where they were under pressure and they looked a bit vulnerable, but ultimately won 2-0. Gasperini got outdone by Simone Inzaghi again, as he seems to do every time. We had a day less rest. Conceicao revealed that we had 4 or 5 players battling the flu in the squad. Leao still not fit enough to start. They had Thuram out, but still. Everything kind of seemed to be stacked in... We were the underdogs, let's put it that way, going into this one. The bookmakers said it. Most of our fans were sort of a bit more on the realistic side, and like, we just want to see a good performance, and the result will be what it will be. What a night in the end, eh?
It was phenomenal.
Yeah. It was It was something, man. It definitely was a magical moment. Just yeah, I mean, I came into this podcast with so much I wanted to say, and now I'm just like, I got
Too
nothing.
much in it.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
incredible. It really was. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say that I was kind of the same in the sense that, like, obviously with the job that we do, at full time yesterday, I wasn't able to sit back and soak it in at all. It was like having to milk everything that was coming out, the dressing room videos and, the trophy presentation going on, all the interviews and everything. Only really this morning when I was laying in bed looking at my phone, it sort of started to soak in. And before people call it out for, it's only the Super Cup, it's not the league title and all that shit, we get it, but success has been kind of hard to come by, and the way that we did it means that we're allowed to enjoy this. Let's be very clear.
Yeah, we'd celebrate like this if it was just a derby, a regular derby in the league,
Yeah,
but this one adds a little extra. And Madison, you and I said this on our preview of the final that the Super Cup's the best trophy to go for, because if you win it, it's the greatest thing ever. If you lose it, you don't care. It's Mickey Mouse. And we won it. So it's the greatest thing ever. Inter fans are pretending it doesn't matter, even though we now tied them for second most, and we're both only one behind Juventus for the most ever in history at 9. So, they're salty, and they're pretending they're not, because they blew a 2-0 lead to AC Milan, a team they beat 6 consecutive times leading up to this season. So they're just as salty as we would have been if we lost. Don't let them fool you. They're pissed. And it's nice.
I did predict a loss, and I did predict that if we conceded first, we would not come back and win. So I was wrong both times. Both things I'm very happy about being wrong about.
Honestly, I didn't think we would come back to win at 2-0. I was like, oh, here we go. We might get one and save a little face, but because the Juventus game was our first game all season to come back to win from behind. We had not done that under Fonseca. We've now done it 100% of the games under Conceicao. It's just insane.
Hopefully, we can turn that around on Friday. But
yeah, the two biggest clubs in Italy, we beat in 3 days in Saudi Arabia with the new manager who had the flu, with injuries, to win a trophy, come from behind victory in both.
Listen, I can guarantee the players are scared of him and they don't want to lose.
Well, that was one thing
I'm scared of him, and I'm scared if they lose that, he'll rip their heads off. That was one of the things.
I don't know if you guys saw it yet, because it came out around 10:30 last night, Eastern USA time, obviously. So it was a little late for some people, but Zlatan was in the locker room. He gave a speech, and before I attack Zlatan, because I want to a little bit, it doesn't look like the players respect him really as a manager. It looked like everyone was kind of biting their fingernails, looking at their phones, they weren't really zoned, tuning in as they were with everyone else. But besides the point, one of the things that Zlatan said in that speech was, we're lucky Sergio had the flu, or else he would have broke more than just one TV. So do a little digging. Apparently at halftime of the Juventus game, the TV in the locker room fell over when he was screaming at them for putting in a shitty performance. So he decided to up the theatrics and smash the TV after it fell already. So I like that. That's,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's coming out of his paycheck, though.
Yeah,
he's kind of like
all $100,000 or all $500 of a TV.
It's an expensive TV. How big's this?
Yeah, I was saying 100, and then I changed to 1,000.
Yeah,
and I was like,
it's I think they can afford it.
$50.
They're fine. They're fine. I think they can afford a new one. Conte sounds like an interesting parable in the entire thing, because across the two games, but mostly last night, you've got that incident with the plasma. You've got apparently the support staff, that travel with the team. They nearly ran out of medication for the colds and flus that were doing the rounds. And of course, they should have been able to go and get more, but they have to take very specific medication because there's banned substances in. So they nearly ran out because of how many players had that. And Conceicao apparently went through a lot of flu medication, which is quite funny. But then yesterday, he pulled a muscle or tweaked a muscle celebrating a winning goal. He bashed his ankle, so he was getting patched up on the bench, like his leg was bleeding.
Saw that.
He cried, you know.
This man's been through the ringer in a week.
Yeah,
I know.
What if he just resigns? He's had enough.
Honestly, even if he did it, he's a legend.
Yeah.
For me, I know it's only been.
He'd have 100% win record and never lost in the final. He'd be like one of our best managers ever.
Won a trophy, 100% win record, beat Juve and Inter. Like, who's going to stop this guy? For me, in my tenure as a fan, and I know this is a bit hyperbolic. It's been 2
Way
games.
hyperbolic. Don't even say it.
Say it.
He's my favorite manager of all time.
Of all time?
Yeah. Since I've been watching Milan. So,
Okay.
Don't throw in the Capellos or the Sakis. I wasn't there.
What about
I'm not that old.
Ancelotti?
Fuck him, he's a bum. I take it back.
Oh, wow.
That's rude. That's horrible.
Yeah.
I love Ancelotti. But
this dude
I'm
hates
high on Conceicao.
Ancelotti and Maldini. Can we just fire him from the podcast? Get him out of here.
All right, I'm out.
I've got an interesting bit of trivia for you, right? So Conceicao wins the trophy in game number 2 in charge. That's the least amount of games to win a trophy in the history of Milan managers. But do you know who's now second?
Fonseca.
No, we never won a trophy. But
the Monza trophy.
We've referenced it. We've referenced it in this episode.
Yeah, it was either Capello or Saki. I can't remember. It was 67?
Nah, 18 games. The last Super Cup against Juve, Montella.
Oh, wow. I forgot about
which is a brilliant start because, it's like the whole thing's come full circle. But yeah,
I did like Montella a lot, but I feel like he got the shit end of the stick.
I wasn't.
Yeah, and that was
Montella, but we got a trophy, so.
I didn't celebrate that one anywhere near as much because it was a one-off game and it was a penalty shootout against Juve after an awful spectacle of a match. 1-1 draw.
What's funny about both the Super Cups that we've won in the last 8 years, we shouldn't have been in either final.
Yeah.
Because the first one, we were only in it because we were the runner-up of the cup, which Juventus also won. They did the double. So they didn't have a choice.
Oh, yeah.
So they picked us. And this one, it's the second year where they do the stupid semifinal, and realistically, we shouldn't have been there either. So, look, I'll take them, obviously. It was a very good day, but yeah, it's interesting. We really shouldn't have been there either.
Take the W, though.
Of course.
Not invited. Show up, steal the show anyway. Love that. Yeah. Let's talk about the game a little bit, shall we? Starting lineup, no real major surprises. Musa came in for Benacer as the only change.
I thought flipping the wings was interesting, though.
Yeah. I kind of mentioned
because they
in
reported
the chat.
it a day early, but
yeah, I mentioned it in the chat when that came out that I thought that it was a specific ploy to get Pulisic to target Bisek and to get Jimenez to target who the hell was it on the left? Oh, Bastoni, who to just flip it and go direct at them because they're both playing as inside forwards. To be honest, it didn't really work. No. Jimenez had to come off in the second half, but I think we should talk about where we found ourselves after 50 minutes, and that was me sat on the sofa just completely mute, having seen Inter go 2-0 up. We need to kind of rewind and channel the anger that we felt going into halftime because of the switch off for that first goal.
Yeah. Go back. I challenge everyone, not challenge, but I would recommend everyone go back and watch just the extended highlights on YouTube, the one that CBS posts or Serie A or whomever, they're all the same. You will not see any action of Inter on the ball until the 22nd minute. Outside of that,
we
shot in the beginning, actually. Yeah. But we controlled the first half. We were definitely the better team in the opening 20. I think we started to slip behind a little bit after that for the second half of the first half, if that makes sense. But we were still the better side. At no point was I worried going into halftime up until Emerson Royale, everyone's favorite player, just decides to take a nap. Listen, when you talk about guys who are winners and winning mentalities, what do we always say about this Inter side, the Juve side of Conte and Allegri? You fight until the final whistle. The moment you step on that pitch, you give it 100%, and the moment you step off that pitch, you're still giving 100%. And he likes to take the first couple minutes off and the last couple minutes off of every half. And in those couple minutes of both halves, we can see 2 goals. Now, I don't think he's really at fault for the goal in the second half, obviously, but the goal in the first half, I blame him entirely. I don't care that Theo got beat, or I think Chow was also there as well. They went for it, but the
whole back
reality
line was pretty bad. But you're right, Emerson.
The Inter had a throw in. Emerson is walking towards the ball that is still rolling, not where the throw-in's going to be, where the new ball is. He's not paying attention. The ball gets grabbed, thrown in front of him, which is something I mentioned, I think, like a week ago, is I don't understand why we never take advantage of the fact that there's no offsides on the throw-in and just throw it up and let someone run. Well, guess what? Inter did it. They score. So Inter throws that. He doesn't realize it until the Inter player is sprinting past him. So he goes into full sprint. The Inter player cuts back inside, as of course he's going to do to cross it. Emerson just keeps running straight. I think
the
scored.
The cutback
so
came from DiMarco to Lautaro across to Taremi.
But he keeps running forward. He doesn't cut back with the Inter player, and he doesn't even watch it. It's like he didn't even know, which worries me because it's like, do you not have eyes on your man when you're chasing? So when they do the cutback to Lautaro is offside from everyone in the back line except for Emerson. So that's why I don't care about the Theo thing. That's why I don't care about the Chow thing.
Yeah.
It's all Emerson's lack of concentration, his inability to pay attention to the ball, keep his head in the game, and that's why we concede the first goal. And then we go into halftime, and it was the final touch of the half.
It was, yeah. They cleared the offside and then straight down the tunnel.
And Chow both, like, Martinez just dribbled the ball in the box, turned around and shot. You can't let him do that.
Yeah, he cut back, and that's how Chow went one way. And
it was a nice bit of composure.
It was a great goal
inside the box. To be fair, I don't begrudge the finish. I'm fully with you, AJ. I think it's like 75% plus Emerson to blame. You might even say 100%. But watching the goal back, I was annoyed to see Theo jogging back when he realizes that the throw-in's been taken. The reason that became important is because he then got into the box but had overcompensated by running too far because he had to catch up. And then that's when Lautaro checks back inside to score. Chow gets kind of stuck in the box marking nobody when he could probably see that it was a very simple pass, and then goal. So none of the back four covered themselves in glory there at all. Even Tomori was a little bit all over the place for it. He didn't anticipate the cutback. But yeah, Emerson to blame. And just to be abundantly clear about it, if that had been the only goal of the game, we'd be absolutely fucking raging about it. So I think it's important that we mention it now, even though we know what's to come was a lot better. Well, after the second goal. But yeah, you can't switch off like that. And I hope Conceicao absolutely didn't just tear a plasma off the wall. He fucking flipped the table and all sorts, because that is not the kind of goal that he will be happy to concede at all. You need to put a high price on your own net. And there, with 10 seconds to go in the half, they decided they were just going to let them basically walk it in. So that was horrible. And then a bit more route one, I guess, after the halftime break. Long ball over the top. I believe it was from De Vrij. And it was a laser, to be fair. It was, I just imagine one of our centre-backs trying to do that, and it probably didn't go quite as well as that. But,
well, Tomori did, and it went straight to them, so.
Yeah. Yes, that was horrific, by the way. De Vrij lays it over the top. Taremi brings it down very well. Like, I can't fault the first touch. Also, the finish, when you see it from a particular angle, Maignan doesn't move. He's rooted to his spot. But he actually somehow bends it around the post and in to the near corner.
Yeah.
It was a nice finish, but fuck me, the Red Sea parted for that one.
It was, everything about it was bad on our end. Everything about it was great on Inter's. And of course it was Taremi. I'm sure there's someone in the comments right now who's remembering the 0.5 episode where I said none of Inter strikers are in form. I said Lautaro has scored 1 in 10, and Taremi, Arnautovic, and Correa combined for 1 goal all season. And then, of course, those are the two. I said we don't need to worry about the strikers. Yeah. It's poetic. But anyways, the curl of that ball was very impressive. And there's one angle where it's like almost from the point of view of Taremi's foot, if that makes sense. And you can see the curl. And you see Mike decide he's going to go for it and then stop, because that you see, it's going out. And then it curls back in and it gets just right behind him. And I fully understand why he did that. I'm not going to pretend like I know goalkeeping etiquette better than Mike Maignan, but to me, you just conceded a goal. It's the first minute of the second half in a final against Inter in a derby. Maybe try to make the save and send it out for a corner. I don't know. Hindsight's 20/20, but I feel like you just don't let that happen.
The question for me is, could he have been quicker off his line? You know, he sees that ball coming from 80 yards away from his own goal.
Yeah.
He was so quick off his line for everything else to be on the edge of his box to catch the crosses that came over the top and the long balls. But in that particular instance, I don't know. Sometimes you just got to say, good goal. And it was. But I agree. You if you want to fine tune the details, as I'm sure Conceicao will be looking to do in training, if you're looking at that bit of film, you think, oh right, maybe there's a couple of things that we could do. Like centre backs need to be closer together. There can't be that much of a gap from the midfield. I think we kept really organised and compact all game up to maybe like the last half hour when it completely opened up anyway.
We were
and they did the same
abysmal.
though. So it was like, you know, it's sort of like we've dropped the gloves now, we're going at it. But up until that point, especially in the first half, I thought we did a good job of staying compact and organised. And then it all just kind of fell apart in those like 5 minutes either side of the half. And I thought we were done. Speaking though, I mean, first of all, Leao comes on. And I can't lie to you and say that I was gassed seeing him stripped and ready to come on, because I was like, we've lost. So why are you throwing him on for more minutes than he should probably be playing? But I think Conceicao sensed something, you know. Well, clearly he did, because he chucked him on there on the left side, knew that it was time for us to go a bit more direct. And it doesn't even mean long balls. It just means keep knocking it down the left-hand side for him to chase. And he will cause problems. And he did. He ran bisect ragged. His first run, like seconds after coming on, was straight down the middle after we recover the ball in their half. And he gets chopped down for a free kick. And speaking of curve of the ball, I took this screenshot.
Yeah, what a beauty.
That ball is like 2 yards outside the post and it comes back in. You know, that is a very, very well taken
low the whole time. I mean, that's really impressive.
He hasn't scored one off the spot for a while.
It's been a long time. It had been a while. And also, you know, I have to give a little I don't know, humility to myself here, because I watched this line up and I said, Theo's not scoring this. It's going sky high. And then he pulls off the greatest free kick I've ever seen in my life, you know?
Yeah. It was an I've literally, they've got the highlights on the TV over there, and we've just equalised, so can get to celebrate that again. I agree with you. What I thought he was going to do, and what he always seems to do, is either a layoff routine where one of them steps up and rockets it, or he just tries to hit it, you know, leans back and it goes over the bar. We so rarely see us hit the target from free kicks that I just didn't think he had that sweet left-footed, cultured, curling shot into the bottom corner in his artillery at all. But he took it really well. And something else that's more impressive about it for me is that free kick position probably maybe more suits a right footer in terms of getting it round and over the wall on the other side. But instead, he took on Sommer's side and said, I'm just going to beat you with power and direction. And he did. Like, Sommer didn't really get that near it to say it was on his side. So it was just a perfect precision free kick. And then he would get the assist for the equaliser, which was a beauty from Pulisic. I think this is an underrated goal, a really underrated goal.
Yeah.
Because when he receives the ball, he's facing nowhere near the goal.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. It should not go in. Like, it really shouldn't. That's such an impossible shot to make. Maybe not.
He scored a few of those though.
Season. It's just, I don't know. Just I think the moment of the game just adds to it as well. Like, to do that under that level of pressure is just incredible. And again, it was Leao making the pass to Theo, who then cut in, and Christian's just right spot, right time, receives the ball a little awkward, a little behind him, doesn't even look. He just says, I know where the goal's at. Left-footed shot in between two defenders, right into Sommer's near post.
He reminds me. He reminds me of this guy that we used to have in our student team, who was a really, really quiet guy, and he wasn't like. I'm not saying that Pulisic is a bad footballer by any means, but he wasn't a flashy player. This guy at all, right? But anytime he got the ball in the box, he would hit it first time and it would go in. And he finished top scorer in our student league, and we won the league. That's like Pulisic. He scores from angles that you don't think are possible. He runs off. No, it's not me. It's another guy.
No. I mean, your student league, like you in school.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like the Primavera, and I was like, who was it?
No. We could do with him in the Primavera or the
Johnny Hancock from Leeds. Oh, okay.
Matty was called. Yeah, but it was just like that. It's like cometh the hour, cometh the man. Like, no matter how quiet he's been, and I'm not saying that he was really quiet in the game, but like he just pops up with a meaningful contribution in some way. And that was absolute theatre, the way that the goal happened. Theo, that long busted run down the left side. Every cross we tried to stand up to that point was never really in a dangerous area. Sommer was claiming them, or Musa tried to do it at one point and he went flying out into the crowd. And yet that was just a really nice, accurate low cutback. Pulisic, if you watch from the moment that he's about to wind up and cross it, he's on the back corner of the box. Like, he's nowhere near the play, really, but he senses it and he just runs towards the penalty spot. And he gets there just in the nick of time, takes the touch, shoots across his body with power and pace, and that's the only way that you could score, really, in that circumstance. So it's a really underrated goal for me. Not just from a technical standpoint, not just because of the magnitude of the moment of the game, but was buzzing for him. And you could tell at that point the team were just like, we've got this. The Inter players were throwing their arms about a bit like, how have we let this slip? And I thought it'd be one-way traffic.
I will give credit to Inter there, because I think they dominated us after that goal.
Exactly. Yeah.
There was a moment at the end where I thought it was for sure done. I don't remember who was in on goal. I think it might have been Lautaro, and Mignon saved it, and then someone intercepted
Dumfries
it
on the right side of the box.
Mignon had to run out to get it. Yeah. It was in that sequence. There was it was a double save or something. And
I think Augusto hit the post as well, and it was like that far from going over.
And watching it live, I was like, what are they throwing their hands up for? It was nowhere near the goal. And then they showed the replay, and I was like, wow, that was 60% in. That was if Mignon waited another second, it probably goes in. Say that again?
Was that
the one where it just barely didn't?
Yeah, because Augusto was the one appealing, like, that's gone over the line. Obviously, they got goal line technology, so it was checked. And I thought, like you did, AJ, nowhere near. And then when they showed the replay, it was like over half the ball was in. You're right. It was a nick time for Mignon to claim that. Otherwise, I think, it's a goal, obviously. A stat I wanted to put forward just before we move on to our winning goal. Theo obviously got the goal to make it 2-1, and he got an assist for the equaliser. So he got a goal and an assist for the first time in how many days? A goal and an assist in the same game for the first time in how many days? Have a guess.
400.
Yeah, I'm 450.
1,200.
What? It's been 3 years.
Yeah, more. Nearly 4. Yeah, crazy.
Wow. That's crazy.
Goes to show. But yeah.
Power of Conceicao.
Well, it's just funny, isn't it? Because nearly everything that's been written about Theo in recent weeks has been critical. And rightly so, because his performance levels haven't been anywhere near as good. But it is a bit like when the derby comes around, he seems to hit the reset button for him. He feels it like nobody else on the pitch, I think. Even though he's not like a boy of Milanista or anything, he's got history in that game, and he doesn't want to show himself up. He got the better of Dumfries for me. And I thought Dumfries was all right as well. And obviously he was the hero in the semi-final for Inter, but it was a good battle to see. And the way that Theo played in that second half was like a man possessed. And I really hope that's the start of something, and it wasn't just like it's a final, so he's going to show up for it against Inter. But I think the way that Conceicao is handling the man management of the players in such a different way to Fonseca makes me feel a lot more confident in the methods, because He came out after the game and said that, AJ, you put the quote in the chat about, he said about Leao that he's confident he can become the best player in the world by the end of this season. Which is a remarkable statement to make, considering how up and down he's been to this point, Fonseca benching him and all that. And also with Theo, if you notice when they did the huddle after the Juventus game, Conceicao goes in next to Theo. You think, all right, maybe he just went for the first point, put his arm around him, it's whatever. Did the same again in the celebrations last night. Found after he finished crying and stuff, the first person he went to was Theo. So I just wonder if those two have struck up a bond. If you're
Conceicao, you want Theo, Leao, and Pulisic to be your first 3 players that you bond with, because you're your best 3 players on the team.
Yeah,
Reinders seems like someone who just loves to play, right?
Yeah,
he's not gonna butt heads with the coach. He's gonna like, this is what you want me to do. Okay, I'm gonna do it, right?
I think Puli's low maintenance as well.
Yeah. And I will say I was worried about a new manager with Puli again because this started to happen at Chelsea and he just started to play worse and worse, but goal both games and
No, he's got that starting spot on lock.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying it's a good thing that Chukwueze got hurt, but it Pulisic lucked out that the moment Conceicao arrived, he healed and Chukwueze couldn't be used. Because
I don't think
you got
I think
180 minutes.
Conceicao
And they were
can
fantastic.
look at the players and be like, okay, who's better?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course. But he also said coming in, I'm going to try all my players. I want to see what everyone can do. And look, if I don't know when Chukwueze would have played in these two games, but I know Pulisic was instrumental in quite a few moments of both games.
He probably would have started the year again.
I think he would have started. Yeah, I think he would have started over Jimenez, to be honest.
It's fine margins. Another thing that Conceição's done as far as man management, making Maignan captain for both games. I mean, that's big because he is a leader and he's also one of the older guys in the group. I think he's 29 or 30. And yeah, it's not that old, but compared to the rest of these guys, I think Mike is a profile that is ready for that leadership role and wants the recognition of a leader. And another thing that I really liked about Mike is during the trophy lift, even though he was captain for 90 minutes, Calabria, come lift this with me. And I like that. And I think we need to give Calabria some praise too, because look, he started the final goal. It was his pass to Pulisic, who passed to Leao,
played that through ball.
Oh my God, incredible. Thread the needle. Split two lines. Gorgeous. There's an angle of it that I saw this morning that the camera is like almost from the net facing Pulisic when he makes the pass. And you see our bench behind it. You see Zaroli. I think it was Silvano Voss was the other one next to him. I didn't recognize the guy, and I know it was one of the Primavera kids. As soon as Pulisic makes the pass, you see Voss kind of half stand up and put his hands over his head like you just know. They all know it immediately. Like, holy shit, this just happened. It's a cool moment. I love it. As far as the Conceicao man management, there was something you said earlier about how you feel more confident. So post game, Mike Grella on CBS said something that I actually agreed with for one of the first times. And it was about this man management. And it was the way you treat your stars is not tough love, not, oh, I'm going to bench you. No one's bigger than the team because, look, life's not fair. Some people think they are bigger than the team. And if you want them to perform well, you kind of treat them a little bit like it. So
pamper the ego a little bit. Yeah,
exactly. You feed them. You feed the ego and then they perform. I'm not saying give them the keys to the city or anything, They aren't bigger than the team, but let them have that ego because it's going to get the best out of them. And that's why he's going over, Theo, you're my boy. Thanks so much. We saw Leao in a form that we've never seen before. In these 40 minutes that he played this cameo.
It's a lie. We've seen him in this form before.
No. We've never seen him do what he did to Barella. He sits Bissek down on his ass, walks over slowly, doesn't even offer to pick him up. He kicks him. Gives him a little, come on, get up. And then turns around and he's chirping to Bissek as he's walking, looks forward, and Barella's running up to him, doesn't even give him the time of day, doesn't get to his face, just immediate. Boom, get the fuck down. Just out of my face.
He does it again as well. Yeah.
He does it again.
Barella is a very strange looking man.
Like the Portuguese fire has been lit under his ass.
Well, it wasn't before.
Remember what I said under right when we did the bonus. I said maybe they wanted.
Conceicao is not passive; he is confrontational.
Yeah, but in the bonus, I said I think the management specifically wanted a Portuguese manager to get the best out of Leao. It backfired with Fonseca, and then Conceição's getting it. I mean,
well, I find this all really.
He got a yellow card for doing all that, by the way.
Yeah. Also, though, that who was it who complained? Who should have walked? Was it Barella?
Oh yeah,
somebody who was on a yellow card, and they started stropping on the floor and shouting at the ref. It's like he should have gone for that. That was a second yellow.
Yeah.
I find it really fascinating because you think about flip it round, say that we'd hired Conceicao in the summer and you're getting the Portuguese Conte, someone who's going to come in and preach about discipline, and he's going to be quite hard to work under. He's going to be very demanding. He's probably going to be more demanding of the stars than anybody else. And maybe players might not react to it so well. But in actual fact, we hired Fonseca, who so many people thought was a yes man when he arrived, but actually was quite combative with the star players, tried different treatments with them. He benched our two main guys, in Leao and Theo. And then you could say Leao came out of the tunnel better for it, but Theo certainly didn't. Then he's sacked. And now Conceicao comes in. And I was saying on the bonus pod, this is a guy who's more combative, if anything. Yet really, maybe he has a really easy job. He's following the guy who tried to be quite nasty and it didn't work. So now all he has to do is just go back to basics and almost kind of do what Pioli did in terms of man management and be like, look, you're my guys. I'm gonna rely on you to win more, win us games more often than not. And it's like he can just be the cool stepdad.
Yeah, and look, I think his mentality of it doesn't matter how you do it, just win at all costs, is exactly what the team needed, because Pioli ball was kind of a bit of that. There was a little bit less of the win, win, win. It was, but kind of just do what you do, figure it out. You got this. This one is a lot more like aggressive, like just fucking win, get the ball in the net. And you see the difference between Fonseca, who has a masterclass video on YouTube. You see it against his first opponent, Thiago Motta, who's like, I revolutionized football 2-7-2, all this weird shit. And then you come up against Inzaghi, who has great tactics as well, but he isn't like a big vocal, like my tactics are the guy, but fantastic tactician. And he's just like, fuck all that noise. You guys are the best players in the world, Leao. You're going to be the greatest ever by the end of this year. Win the game. And they go, yes, sir. And then they go and win,
You forgot to smash the TV part.
Yes,
a lot of F-bombs, scaring the shit out of
Well, I think it's a positive that
it's the passion. That's what drives them. When Zlatan came to this team as a player in 2019, it was exactly that energized the squad to go. And the difference is, Zlatan said the only player I couldn't get the best out of was Leao. Conceicao got it in 40 minutes.
Yeah, it might have been. Look, in the Leao case, we need to see. Obviously, it's a small sample size, but he made a massive difference. I think he was the MVP.
No, actually, they gave it to Tammy, which is a bit crazy, but I guess it's the winner, But to me,
fair enough. So it's a small sample size, and obviously, we need to see if it continues from here. It might have been lightning in a bottle, but the positive signs were certainly there. And I'm just trying to find the most interesting quote that Leao said wasn't to any of the cameras after the game. It was when they landed back at Malpensa this morning, and Leao and Calabria stopped to speak to a couple of journalists there. He said, when the coach arrived, he brought us different energy. As I said yesterday, we absolutely felt a change. Now, they've all been quite restrained in what they've said about the switch from one to the other, just like it's new ideas, we feel responsible for the fact that the old coach has lost his job and stuff. But there, I think he's just been quite honest and been like, the atmosphere has improved and he's given us a bit of belief. He's given us, a bit of fire inside to go out and think we can go toe to toe with anybody that perhaps wasn't there before. When you think about what Fonseca did, and I don't want to turn it into a big spin off about comparing the two coaches, but think about Fonseca. After our biggest result of the season, a 3-1 away win at Real Madrid, he came out and said he was worried about getting the players motivated to play Cagliari. It turned out he was right because we drew and conceded 3 goals to them. But he basically admitted he doesn't have much faith in the mentality of his own squad. So maybe if Conceicao's just come in and been like, I'm going to back you. Like, I think you can do it. And they've gone out and done it. So now it's like, where can we go from here? And Cagliari, funnily enough, is the next game. But
I do think, I know you said you don't want to compare them, but I'm going to anyways. When you look at the resumes, I think it makes a big difference. Conceicao now has won 13 trophies in 9 years as a manager, or whatever it may be. Fonseca has 0. He hasn't done anything. And when he comes in, historically, and no one wanted him either, right? So
Fonseca, I think Fonseca does have a couple, but
okay, well,
anyone like the cup in Portugal or whatever, but
okay. Well, the point being,
Supercoppa.
Yes, the point being, Conceicao has a lot, and Fonseca has a little or none. I don't know. We'll have to fact check that, and I'm not going to do it because my point, I want to win. So when he comes in, a historic 51% win rate as a manager. He comes in, he tries to break down the ego of stars, players that he's not used to having, these caliber players at his clubs, and he starts attacking their mentality and saying all this stuff. And then as a player, you're thinking, the fuck does this guy know? I won a Scudetto at 23. I was the MVP. What are you talking about?
We thought we were getting Conte.
Yeah, we thought we were getting the guy. Now we got
Yeah.
this guy, and then Conceicao comes in, and it's the exact opposite. He is behaving like Conte. He's got a resume pretty similar to Conte, and he's saying, "You guys are the greatest. Fucking prove it. Let's see what you got." And they're going, "Yeah, this guy," and he knows what he's talking about. He wins stuff. That's the mentality. So as much as resume shouldn't make a difference, it does in this case because of the behavior of the coach.
Yeah, Fonseca. I remember that line that he said where he said, "I don't give a shit about the name on the back of the shirt." And Conceicao's probably rocked up and said, "Well, I kind of do." And
exactly.
There you go. Just on the third goal, Pulisic, incredible line breaking pass. The vision to play that and to perfectly weight it was fantastic. That should be an assist for me. Like, this is where football needs to bring in a second assist like ice hockey does, because that was gorgeous. But then Leao, I think this hasn't been spoken about enough as well.
Good credit.
He I don't know how to describe it. He sort of jams it into the ground, so he two bounces it over the keeper and defender for Tammy to then tap it in.
Yeah, and I was trying to explain that to Gemma too when I watched it. Sorry, I didn't mean to name her, but that's my girlfriend. Everyone, he hits the ball, and it's not just like a flat cross across the ground. It, like you said, he hits it into the ground, so it bounces over. Was it Bisek who was going in, or I don't know who it was at the time, but someone was sliding in. I think it was Bisek because he just was getting the best of him all game.
Yeah,
and he bounces it over him like he's like, I know someone's sliding in, which is the difference between a world-class player and a good player. Yeah. And then again, it bounces a second time, which I don't know if that was intentional or not, but a second bounce over Sommer right to Tammy Abraham. I mean, he couldn't have missed this if he tried. Morata probably could have. But he gets it in and bursts into tears. I love that.
Yeah.
The emotion of Tammy Abraham, who just came on, his first touch of the game, I believe. Game-winning goal, stoppage time, trophy, derby. Love it.
There you go. It was Bisek.
Look at that.
Yeah,
never as bad as we think.
Yeah, it is actually. I want that in HD. It's just from the replay, but it is Bisek, and it's tapping for Tammy. Yeah, don't get me wrong, and obviously he gets the headlines because he scored the winning goal and he gets the MVP award and all that. But one thing I will say is he gambled where Morata wouldn't have in that case. Yeah. I must admit, I didn't fully celebrate the goal because I'm like, oh, fuck, he's offside. But then you watch the first replay, and it's like, no, he was nowhere near offside. But you just see it as such an easy tap-in and think someone's got to be offside there.
I celebrated. It's snowstorm, obviously, and I almost went made snow angels.
Somebody pinched me. This isn't happening right now.
Yeah. Oh, man. Brilliant. And then I love... this is such a niche thing, but I love in football when there's been a late goal. And we saw this with the derby earlier in the season. There's been a late goal. Everyone's still gassed. The bench are up and everything. And they're all in the technical area, basically holding each other back, waiting for the full-time whistle.
Yeah.
Like all dancing and stuff. And then when the whistle goes and they can all run on, it's pure jubilation. And I'm literally watching the presentation here over the laptop because we've just scored the winner. But just incredible. Really, really fantastic. Scenes. As I said, there was blood, there was tears, there was everything. I thought it was brilliant how they sort of got everyone involved. You know, even the Futuro lads who haven't played much of a role at all at this point, they got their photo with the trophy together. They went up and got their medals and things like that. Oh, and one thing I will say, and I'll say it so you two don't have to, because I know you would begrudge it, but I thought that Inzaghi, Di Marco, and Lautaro after the game were pretty classy. They all came out and straight away one of the first things they said was congratulations to Milan. They never gave up. They deserved it because they kept fighting when we switched off. You know, feels like there's been more bad blood in recent games than in the banter era, for example. So I think for them to come out and say that was pretty good. You know, in the game is battle.
Objectively at a higher level now for the derby than it was during the banter era when both teams were fighting for 8th place, even though we're ironically in 8th right now. But this had a trophy on the line. There's more bad blood. Like you said, the Çalhanoğlu thing, obviously he went off injured pretty early, so he was a non-product of this game. But just the switch, that always adds more tension to it because he's going to give his all, and everyone doesn't want that, and he tends to get the better of us. So, just overall, it was good. Inter even tweeted, congrats to Milan. I quoted it, R.I.P. Bozo. So, don't ever say I'm classy because, trust me, I'm not. But yeah, they were, and that's cool.
Pioli was there as well, and
Yeah.
he's done a couple of interviews. And look, I have to be honest, I had mixed thoughts on it all.
About Pioli being there?
About him doing the interviews and stuff and meeting the squad and things like that. I just thought, look, I get it. I think we spoke about it a little bit before, but I get it. Of course, we're at the training ground that they use, so you should come along and say hello to everybody. But you just wonder, and then he's doing the interviews about how he misses Milan and he wants to coach in Italy again one day. But all that aside, to see him up in the stands, so buzzing, to see a lot of players he's coached winning a trophy like they managed to do under him, I thought that was another nice touch. Zlatan gave his post-match speech in the dressing room. That was rousing, I'll say, but I can't remember what analogy somebody used. But basically the notion that only shows up when it's good, and I get that a little bit. I do. I wouldn't over glorify that, but whenever Zlatan gives a speech, if it means that something good's happened, then let's have lots more speeches because it means that we've won more things.
There was a few times when we lost and he would go into the dressing room and give a speech. They just don't show those speeches.
Yeah, that's true.
And rightly so.
Yeah.
Probably not safe for work.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's do tops and flops. So my top, I think there's 3 you can pick from at the very least for this. And I'm going to go for Theo because I have slagged him off multiple times this season. And I think with reason most of the time. I think the thing that you might give him a half mark down for, with the first goal, could he have done better? He just more than made up for it with an absolutely superb second half performance. He even said that he's not as he even said he's not at his best physically, and yet he ran like an engine for 90 minutes yesterday. Goal and assist, first time in well over 3 years, and I'm happy for him. I hope that's a starting point. But yeah, there's plenty to pick from.
Yeah, I think that's obviously a really good pick, but for me, it's got to be Leao, the man of the hour, the man of the 40 minutes. More contribution in less time than anyone else. I think he was unstoppable. This was my favorite performance from him, except for the Sassuolo game where we won the Scudetto, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to go Pulisic only because he scored a goal in both games and he, showed up both games.
And he had the assist in the final. Or no, he didn't.
And won the penalty he won the penalty in the semi-final as well. So he's the man of the Super Cup for me, weirdly, even though he didn't score the winner in either game. But yeah.
Scored the equalizer in both.
Yes. Yeah. So Mara Suma's commentary is brilliant, by the way. I don't know if you've seen it.
Not yet. I plan on watching
goal and then the Tammy one.
That was
very, very good. Yes, yeah, well worth a watch. Love him to bits. Flop of the match. Feels a bit harsh on such a celebratory night, but it was Emerson Royale.
Oh, yeah.
He had a disaster, unfortunately.
Easy.
There was one moment where they hooked a long ball clear, and he was our one-man back, and it was him versus, I don't know if it was Lautaro or Taremi, but he circles under it, and he just completely missed it. And they were able to break.
Of the 11 players on the field, 10 of them look better since the new manager came, except for him. He just looks worse.
I've said this before for other games, and somehow it's true again. Even when he does something right, it's wrong. Like, he will intercept a over-the-top through ball, head it right to the feet of an injured midfielder, and it's like, what are you doing? Every time, I don't get it. He never does anything right. And honestly, I am begging to see Calabria start again. I know everyone's going to say that's crazy, but I firmly believe Calabria is, if not twice, he's 1.5 times the player Emerson is.
Or do you just give it Jimenez? Like, he clearly trusts him enough to start a couple of important games. Could you actually go with Theo Jimenez at fullback? I just don't know about Jimenez defensively. That's the only thing.
And I thought that too, because I really thought that was going to be the substitution, was Emerson off for Leao and Jimenez go to right back. Yeah. Obviously, it was Jimenez for Leao, and then I saw on Twitter before the substitution even, a good chunk of people on my timeline were saying how bad of a game Jimenez was having. I personally didn't see that, but I also recognize that I'm not watching all 11 players equally, so maybe they were seeing stuff I wasn't seeing. So I don't know. Maybe he's just not there, and I'm wrong.
He didn't have a great game.
It was a hard game for him, though, I think, because, I don't want to use age as an excuse because some players are 19 and they're very ready, but he hasn't had a lot of first-team minutes, and he's been thrust in there to play against, number one, a very, very deep block-oriented Juve team who give basically no space. And he ran in that game to the extent that he tweaked his muscle. And I thought, well, that's him out of the final. Then he comes back for the final, and it's a similar kind of task for him, really, in the sense that he's coming up against a side that are defensively usually incredible. You know, they hadn't conceded in over, I think it was over 500 minutes of football they hadn't conceded in. This was tough for any winger to play in that, especially a guy who's not actually a natural winger and was having his, third start of the season for us, fourth start. So, I have a little bit of sympathy for him. And if there was ever going to be anybody who had a bit of an anonymous game, you could probably say fair enough to him, but not to Morata. And Morata, again, was not really in it, apart from that one header that was saved well by... And I don't want to drag him because I guess his work off the ball is very important as well. But it's know which Spaniard to criticise here.
Yeah. Final thoughts on the Super Cup, because I know we got to get moving along here.
Yeah.
We gave Juventus their first defeat of the season. Conceicao's very first game hands Juventus their first defeat of the season. And we've now been the only Italian team to beat Inter, doing it twice in one season, 15 games ago, and then their most recent, obviously Bayern beat them in the Bayer Leverkusen beat them in the Champions League, but as far as Italian teams go, it's just us.
Same. Yep. Let's move on. Let's do Cagliari. Okay. I'm worried about this now. I shouldn't be. You know, come on, we're all thinking it, aren't we? It's like
I'm not. No, it's the surefire win.
Could there be a bit of a hangover? You think we're going to blitz them as well?
Yeah, because I think the way Conceicao said it after the match was, we're celebrating tonight, but they're still training tomorrow. He was very quick to say, yeah, the season's not over. We didn't win anything. Or we did. We won a trophy. But, he's saying, look, enjoy tonight. You did it. That's what football's all about, is winning. But we have another game this weekend, and we need points in the league. And I think everyone knows that. Plus, obviously, not losing, but drawing 3-3 in the reverse. They're going to want this one back. I think they'll be up for it.
Yeah, Cagliari are struggling as well. They're 1 point above the bottom three. They've won 4 out of their 19 games. They have, according to this, they've scored only 18 goals in 19 games and let in 32. So they've got the second worst goal difference in the league. They lost 3-0 to Inter in their most recent game. So look, if we could beat Inter, then surely we can go and do better than that. They beat Monza away in the game before that, but Monza went down to 10 men. But prior to that, they lost to Venezia, then to Juventus, then to Atalanta, then to Fiorentina. So they're on a bit of a bad run, and this is absolutely a must-win home game, and it's the kind of home game that we should be winning convincingly. You'd like us to have a little bit more rest. For example, I think Inter play on either Sunday or Monday. You know, they've got more time than we do after they had more rest coming into the final. So thanks for that, like a Serie A. We see what you're doing. But yeah, it's a Saturday night game in front of the home crowd at San Siro. It's Conceicao's first game at San Siro, and he's already got a trophy under his belt, which is kind of mental, don't you think?
Yeah.
How many managers have won a trophy before they've managed a game in front of their home fans? You know, it
felt like it was our home fans in Saudi. But this is interesting because in the last 26 matches against them, we've only lost once. And it was, again, under Montella in a match where Baca missed a penalty. Lapadula had to score one. And then they scored a 92nd minute winner from a corner. So, shocker.
Yeah.
The story of the banter era. But since then, it's been basically a one-sided thumping with a few draws here and there, including obviously the most recent. But I don't foresee any problems here. I know that's famous last words, but this should be pretty straightforward, no?
Yeah, you hope so. I am going to back us to win, and I think we get our first clean sheet as well, to be honest. I think that's what we have to
haven't had a clean
target.
sheet yet.
Under him. We conceded to Juve and conceded to
Okay.
Inter, but this is the game where you have to keep it, because his Porto sides were notoriously good defensively, and I think this would be a game where you see that a little bit. And I think if we keep
we have a week.
Yeah.
You know.
The reverse was also an interesting game because Leao came in hot form, had a brace, and but we started Camarda, who, as much as we all love him, just isn't ready to be leading the line from the first minute yet. And he showed that over his 60 minutes of nothing. And then Abraham came on and within 3 minutes scored the third goal. And then obviously, again, we let in a late equalizer to not win the game. So that was frustrating. But
yeah, it's the start of an important run of games, really, this, because after the Cagliari game, we have got Como away following midweek. So that's just a trip up the road, really. Then we got Juve away, who are going to be out for blood after what happened in the semi-final. Then Champions League, Girona at home the following midweek. Then Parma at home, Dinamo Zagreb away. So you've got the Juve game in and amongst a cluster of easier fixtures on paper, and then the derby on the 2nd of Feb. So a very important January for.
I think we go into the
Conceicao,
Inter
which you
game on a
started off.
9-game win streak.
Jesus, is that
You
even
think-
possible?
yeah, I mean, of course it's possible. Anything's
We
possible.
just won 2.
No, but is
and
there
that's
enough
in 7
games?
Oh, we're already
Yeah, there
2
is.
in.
Yeah. No, I think there is. I hope you're right.
When was the last time we beat Inter 2 games in a row? I mean, obviously we just did it, right? But before that, because they won 6 in a row on us.
Wasn't it the season we won the Scudetto?
We traded. They beat us 4-2, or no? They 3-3. They beat us in one.
So
of
no,
those.
it was under Pioli when we won the second derby of the Scudetto season 2-1, the Giroud comeback, and then we won the first derby of the next season as champions 3-2 when Leao scored that brace.
No, we won that 3-2, but before that we lost in the Coppa Italia 3-0 to them.
Oh,
so
right.
I guess if you want to say in the league,
Okay, yeah.
yes, but
oh yeah.
I'm scrolling back in time here just to see, but keep on chatting.
Yeah.
2015, we beat them. Nope, that's a friendly. Does that even count?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's been a while.
Yeah. Look, anyway, for Cagliari, I think we win 2-0. Pulisic and Leao with the goals.
Let's go 3-0. And also, I found it was 2011, 3-0 in the league, and then 2-1 in the Super Cup.
Super Cup. We love the Super Cup. Seems to be our elixir at the
Yeah.
moment. I want to talk about one thing then, just before we do, hopefully, a couple of questions. I've got time, don't worry. Marcus Rashford.
I'm in. I'm sold.
Indifferent.
I think he's got what we need right now. I would like him to play as a striker. I don't think he should be the backup winger. I know that's kind of his main thing, but I think he can do a striker job. And I think we are so good at revitalizing depreciating assets, as Bader called them in the chat the other day. I think we could really get the best out of him. It strikes me as a Pulisic deal. You're looking at a guy who's been at Manchester United his entire career since he was in the youth academy. Those are not good years for Manchester United. They had a couple decent seasons, won a few smaller trophies, kind of like the one we're
won the
celebrating
Europa
today.
League when Zlatan was there at the same time as
Exactly.
Rashford.
And their best finish was second. So he's been close to a league title, but never really there. And most of the seasons have been abysmal. And I think a breath of fresh air would do him wonders where, he doesn't have the same pressure at United. While I think Milan would make more sense to have higher pressure than United because they just don't win anything. But yeah, I think he could really.
It's different.
I think he could do well here. I'd like to see it. And if it means we get rid of Morata, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be Okafor.
If that's the case, then yes.
Yeah, it'll be Okafor.
It sounds like Romano said it and Matteo Moretto said it, and I think Bianchini said it as well, that Okafor is going to be sold on a permanent deal to Leipzig. And one thing I will say there is that we need to be ready for him to have really good numbers in the Bundesliga, because I think he's a player that's quite well suited. It's just if he can stay fit, and obviously hasn't been able to stay fit often enough for us, unfortunately. But I think it would be kind of a shame to see Okafor go, because we saw flashes of what he's capable of, but there just isn't a big enough role for him here. And I think if Conceicao has come in and said, look, I'm going to be honest, I don't really see it with him, but I would like to have Marcus Rashford, or I'd like to have Trincao, or I'd like to have Kolo Muani if we can get him in. I find them more useful than Okafor. Then I think it would be an upgrade, at least in the eyes of the coach, which are the eyes that matter. Ibra also said before the game yesterday, going to speak to the coach and see what he wants, but something will happen in January. Those were the words that he used. So, Rashford, I think it depends on three things. I mentioned this in the chat. I think the first thing is sort of, are we getting a hungry Rashford? because when he's fired up, we've seen what he's capable of. Season before last, he got 30 goal contributions in all competitions. We'd kill for someone like that now. What numbers could he do here in Italy? Probably higher than that. Certainly, there's the deal aspect of it. Are we able to get him on a loan with option, for example? Would it just be a dry loan? How much salary are they covering? How much would it cost us as a definite amount to have him even just for 6 months? That's something to factor in. And I guess thirdly, it's sort of the role that we'd see for him, because I know, AJ, you said you see him as a centre forward. He can play anywhere across the forward line, but his best numbers have come as a left winger. And I think that won't be lost on the management. It's like, we've kind of got our guy there, but it gives us maybe a bit of tactical flexibility to switch to 4-4-2 when we need it, and he could play off someone. I think that would be good. Or alternatively, maybe you just say, starting spot's yours on the right-hand side, and we play 4-2-3-1 with Pulisic down the middle. Or maybe you play him as a 10. I don't know. But there's a versatile player there, but his best has come on the left. I think that's something to mention.
I think something that plays into our favor is obviously United seem to want to move on. He's 27, which means he's entering the prime years of his career. And players know that this is when they hit 27, 28, if they're on the outs of their club, they have one last move in them. One more contract, and he might see this as the only opportunity to revitalize his career. And no disrespect to Dortmund, but if you're torn between choosing Dortmund or Milan, I think you pick the one that's, the better of the two, the more historic club. It all makes sense to me that he would want to come to Milan, and if he's here, we could use that if he has a decent 6 months to our advantage. Say, look, we can pay you what you were making at United, but we want you here. You have a spot in our team, something he doesn't have at United.
I also think that he's going to see the English people who revitalized their career at Dortmund and say, why wouldn't I go there?
Dortmund?
Didn't you just say Dortmund?
Oh, yeah, Dortmund. Yeah,
I guess. Sorry, my fucking Siri popped up and I couldn't hear what you said, Madison. Say that again.
Oh, we're talking about Rashford, right?
Yeah.
He's going to see the English people who revitalized their career at Dortmund, Jude Bellingham being one.
Well, he didn't revitalize.
Right, he didn't revitalize. He developed there.
Okay, well, Sancho,
Gittins,
right?
Yeah.
And he's like, why would I not go there? Because then I can rebuild there and then bounce somewhere bigger.
How are they doing right now? I really don't know.
There's better examples of English players that have come here and revitalized their careers at Milan. Dortmund.
Recently?
Well, yeah, so Rashford will know Tomori from the English national team, even though Tomori didn't play for them much. They'll have been in the same camps together. He'll know Tammy Abraham for the same reason. He'll know Ruben Loftus-Cheek for the same reason. Those are players who've fallen by the wayside at Chelsea. And
consider their careers revitalized?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know about Loftus-Cheek.
Most of them Bellingham at Dortmund.
Tomori is out of form and only started because Gabia was sick.
No, but we're talking about
loan from Roma because he lost his spot.
We're about what happened in the immediacy after they moved to Italy. So Tomori came from Chelsea, became an instant starter, was part of the Scudetto winning team. Okay, it hasn't gone as well recently, but Rashford will look at what happened straight after the move, because that's what he wants, is an instant bounce. Tomori got that. RLC scored 10 goals last season. Okay, his performances were up and down, but it was still a revitalization compared to where he was at Chelsea. Even Pulisic, not English, but an out-of-favour forward who left a Premier League team, got a massive bounce. Who am I missing? Tammy Abraham went to Roma. They spent quite a bit of money on him, and I think he scored 20-plus goals in his first season. So, the precedents are good for players who leave it.
And on top of that, I think just the ability to communicate with new teammates. There's a lot of English speakers, a lot of people he probably knows from the national team or just around the circuit of being Premier League players. I think being able to communicate is a big one. That obviously in Germany they speak a lot of English. That's not a secret, but he knows people already on our team, so I think that'll help us. He probably knows some Dortmund players too. I don't know his personal life, but I think that does play a role.
Yeah, and the Ibra thing is something to bear in mind, because by all accounts, Ibra took Rashford under his wing a little bit when he was coming through at United, or certainly when he was a lot younger than what he is now. So maybe Ibra's like, I know this guy and he can be useful. Whether Ibra's vibes is something we should base a major transfer decision off is another topic. But at least he knows him and has played with him, because I think he'd be like a bit more picky about the attitudes and stuff that we bring in. So yeah, we'll see how that one develops. We'll just do a couple of questions and then we'll wrap it up. I'm aware that this has been quite a long one, but look, we don't have many celebratory ones like this. Someone says, hi, Max asks, what are we drinking right now? That came in straight after full time. I'm doing dry January, so...
Yeah, I had a Diet Coke after the game.
I was drinking water.
Yeah, a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And a
I'm
water,
currently drinking a latte.
So now I had a glass of tea, but I was drinking water when he said that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I put in the chat, I want a beer, but I went and grabbed the Diet Coke. So,
how Nintendo Nino? How much do we love Conceicao?
Well, you already saw AJ confess his love.
Yeah,
best manager of all time.
My favorite manager of all time.
Favorite, yeah.
He quickly grew his grade from a B to an A minus.
Yeah, all my apprehensions were not about Conceicao, but about the timing of the appointment, and it clearly didn't matter at all. So yeah, he's a
yeah. I also changed my prediction of him leaving after 6 months to staying because he was crying after he won that trophy. That man wants to be here. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Well, he did say that he waited specifically for an Italian club. He said that after Juve or after Inter, one of them, he said, I waited for an Italian club. So before people were wondering, like, oh, he keeps saying he has offers, but he's not taking them. So why? Why is he waiting for Milan? Now he's saying, I waited for an Italian club. Obviously, he played here quite a bit for Inter and Lazio. So maybe he just knew, like, look, Italy's where it's at.
Maybe, like,
and he probably just wanted to be near his son too.
What you want to do is presume that everybody operates in the football world so very innocently, but maybe the whole time we kept in contact with him and we're like, look, or maybe like when Fonseca starts to falter a little bit, we're on the phone like, we think that you could come in and do a good job if needed, and then obviously all happened very quickly, but here he is.
We didn't decide after the Roma game to fire him and hire Conceicao in 2 hours. Like that didn't happen. That contract was already signed.
Yeah, they were ready.
It literally was as well. Like he never, when he landed at Linate Airport, he didn't go to sign his contract. He went straight to training because the contract was already signed. He got announced while he was in the air. So yeah, it had already been done, but it just makes you wonder, like, was Conceicao waiting for us?
Man. He just signed
DocuSign's great.
Oh, good. Gotta love DocuSign. And Jorge Mendes was on the DocuSign as well. Justin and 1,278 others, that's an interesting nickname, username on Twitter, asks, best player for Conceicao to sign this January for his 4-4-2 and 4-3-3. So is that Rashford. 2 players?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to go with Rashford just because that's the only link we've had so far. But it could.
I think Rashford, but for a 4-3-3, I think Rashford would fit both. But then we also need a midfielder, and I don't know who we would sign.
Oh, we were linked with already another right back, weren't we?
Oliver.
I don't know who. I don't understand what's happening here, but I think we're linked with the right back. So I would say a right back would be nice. I don't have a name in mind, but definitely anything.
I think
out.
That a striker is more important than the right back. Personally,
I agree. I think we should. Well, no, I don't agree. I'm sorry. I think a striker is very important, but the reason I don't think it's the most important is because we do have options that can play there. We have multiple, and I think they will score goals. They're just not top level, whereas I think right back is a liability no matter who we put there.
Yeah. You can tell that we're fluttering because Oliver can't talk. So AJ and I are trying to say the same point over and over again.
Yeah, what is going on with him? I don't understand.
I know. I'll pull up the Discord and find some more questions. It's loading. I apologize. It never takes this long to load.
I mean, I could hear him. I heard Oliver's
voice. I don't think he can hear us.
You can't hear us. Oh, okay. I mean,
we can't hear him. He can hear us. I think his mic might be broken. He hasn't even tried speaking.
Lads, I'm not going to lie. I can't hear anything. Something's gone wrong with my headphones. But do you want me to wrap it up now?
Yeah, sure. Let's end it.
Okay, great. I've been trying to get it to reconnect, but my Bluetooth's gone to shit, basically. But anyway, as long as you can still hear me.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry for that
You
shit
hear
end
him?
to the episode. But thank you, everyone, for listening to this. It's been a bit of a long one, but look, we've had a trophy to celebrate and everything. So hope that you enjoyed it. Let us know how you celebrated. Let us know what you thought of the game, what you think of Conceicao, what you think of Rashford. Be good to hear your thoughts. As always, check out the Substack. AJ, cheers for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Maddie, cheers for joining. Have a good week, everybody. We're back later this week with the bonus app.
Gol! Ancora Theo! È una meraviglia! Il gol di Theo Hernandez da un'area all'altra! È una meraviglia! Senti il mio cuore!